Goosebumps is a children's horror series. The books, movies, TV show, and just about everything else with this logo on it never got super dark. The franchise has always been appealing to kids, and some, bigger kids. However, in 2016, a select group of people got to see what Goosebumps would be like if it was R-rated. In the mid-2010s, Goosebumps experienced a surge in popularity. This was mainly fueled by the 2015 movie starring Jack Black. While the movie did appeal to kids, there were also a lot of teenagers and young adults who grew up with the books that checked out the film as well. This combination of new popularity and a sense of nostalgia allowed something to happen that had never happened before. An R-rated Goosebumps event called Goosebumps Alive. So what was it exactly? That's kind of hard to say. Goosebumps Alive branded itself as immersive theater, so kind of a combination of a play performance and a haunted house attraction.
I mean, it's hard to sort of describe what that was. Was it a walkthrough? Was it a scare maze? Was it a theater production? It was all of those put into one.
Here's how Goosebumps Alive worked. When visitors arrived, they'd be given one of 4 cards: rats, spiders, crows, and snakes. You would experience different things depending on the card you were given, which encouraged people to come back. Depending on the card you got, you'd get a different tone too. Rats and crows focused more on comedy, while spiders and snakes focused on horror and scares. I like that touch, since Goosebumps has always had a balance between horror and comedy. Anyways, once the attraction started, visitors would walk into a room and watch a scene play out. That's where the theater element came in. The immersive part of Goosebumps Alive was the audience participation, and the fact that you would have to literally walk to the next room to see the next scene. Each scene was inspired by a Goosebumps book, like Stay Out of the Basement, One Day at Horrorland, The Haunted Mask, The Scarecrow Walks at Midnight, and more. In total, between the 4 groups, there were 17 different rooms that visitors got to experience. However, at the end, regardless of the group you joined, everyone would meet back up and witness a scene featuring Slappy. Now, what about Goosebumps Alive made it R-rated? Well, there were a lot of jump scares, intense imagery, and even blood and gore. You can see from these pictures that Goosebumps Alive put its own spin on everything to make it more intense. It's difficult to find specific examples of what Goosebumps Alive did that made it R-rated, but apparently there was a sequence where visitors would get trapped in an elevator with the lights completely turned off, followed by some scary sounds. Now, there were actually 2 versions of Goosebumps Alive, an adult version and a kid version. As far as I can tell, the kid version was the exact same idea as the adult one, just with different scenes and of course, less scary. Maybe you noticed this throughout the video, and I certainly did as I researched, but Goosebumps Alive doesn't exactly seem like Goosebumps. I'm not talking about the event being R-rated, but more about how everything was presented. For example, one of these dummies is Slappy. Can you tell which one? I can't. Likewise, this is the Haunted Mask, but it looks more like the creature from the Black Lagoon. Of course, I know it was supposed to be theater, but I feel like they went a bit overboard. To further this point, one of the scenes in Goosebumps Alive was based on the Cuckoo Clock of Doom. Just like in the book, the plot in this scene was about time travel, but apparently the character used it for personal gains, which is completely different from what happened in the original story.
There was a Horrorland sequence, which I didn't like. As being a really huge fan of Horrorland, it's my favorite Goosebumps book, I felt it had nothing to do with Horrorland, which was very disappointing for me. It was a bit of a song, and it was very interactive, but I didn't see how it was related to Horrorland at all. It just wasn't very good.
It's cool that Goosebumps Alive did something different with Goosebumps, but I think they may have gone a bit too far and created something that was only loosely based on R.L. Stine's stories. Anyways, you might be wondering why you can't experience Goosebumps Alive anymore, and why you may have never even heard about it until now. Well, Goosebumps Alive was only open from April 2016 to June 2016, and it's never been brought back. Also, it was only available in London, which is why it's a more obscure piece of Goosebumps history. I would have loved to have experienced it, but I'd really like them to do a brand new event. It would be awesome to have another interactive Goosebumps attraction. Doing something aimed at older audiences would be cool, but I'd be fine if they just did an all ages event, or had an adult version and a kids version like Goosebumps Alive did. I have some criticisms with Goosebumps Alive, but I'm on the outside looking in, so I can't say for certain. Looking at Goosebumps Alive as just an event, it seems like it was a lot of fun based on the reviews from people who experienced it. Even if it was only loosely based on Goosebumps, I still think Goosebumps Alive was cool and glad it happened. It's kind of crazy that it wasn't until 2016 that an official interactive Goosebumps event like this was created. With the new Disney Plus Goosebumps show coming out, maybe Scholastic and or Disney could make something happen as a promotional tie-in. Speaking of that, which monsters should appear in the new Goosebumps TV show? You can find out by hitting the video on screen.